Hi, today is Yarrow Day, June 19th, and I'm in my driveway right now. It's a lovely, bright day, and Yarrow is Achillea millefolium, if I'm saying that right. Millefolium, I always want to say it differently. Yarrow is a fighter, and it's resilient. So here's a friend that went in my driveway, if you can see that. This appeared this spring, and that is Yarrow. And I'm not going to get too heavy-handed in this, but today being Juneteenth, this is about, Yarrow is a healer, and it's about resilience, and this is an incredibly resilient plant, so you don't need to really look at me. I hope you can see this Yarrow growing in the driveway. There's two other plants growing in the driveway, and I don't want to pull it out yet, and I'm ready to maybe pull it out right after this, and then I'm going to transplant it to the garden. So as I was saying about Achillea millefolium, Achilles, the Grecian hero, the warrior, he was known to work with the plant to help his soldiers with their battle wounds. So this is about, you could think the wounded healer, the archetype. And millefolium means many-leaved, thousand-leaved literally. And you can find this all in textbooks, but it is auspicious to think the solstice is tomorrow. Today is Juneteenth. We have a new moon coming, and there's a lot we need about resilience right now. And just if you're wounded emotionally and physically, this is where Yarrow really comes in. So again, there's our friend Yarrow. You can see my notes here. And what I'm going to do is go to the garden, to show you some Yarrow. So one thing that's fun about Yarrow, hello everybody. Thank you for joining me, as always. Yarrow is in the aster family, and if you've been with me before, we've had the two chamomiles, asters, and then we had somebody in the lavender family, Spanish lavender. The asters are healers. That's one thing they're known for. Some have more affinities than others, but Yarrow is promiscuous, and the cool thing about Yarrow is it just shows up. It's a healer, and one thing it does is it remineralizes land. And this is really cool, this plant, this is a variety, and I think it's called moonbeam. This plant is probably an iteration of a plant I've had for more than 10 years. It's beautiful, beautiful golden blooms. It blooms a little bit earlier. This is wild Yarrow. It came from someplace and decided to visit the garden, and every year it moves, and I just can't pull it out. This one I planted a few years ago, but it used to be way over there. So one thing about Yarrow, I did say it helps remineralize land. It's nice if you can just see the Yarrow. You don't really need to look at me. I have in my notes I found in a gardening book. Like most weeds, it's considered actually a noxious weed in some places. It likes temperate climates, hence it's okay here. It really, really like the German chamomile, really likes lean, well-drained soil. And it's a fighter. You saw it growing in my driveway. So it helps accumulate into the land copper, magnesium, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So that's, it's pretty important stuff for the land, especially if you're over farming and over harvesting. And weeds, a plant is a plant. We just, as humans, give them silly names. Weeds like to heal generally. And I said this is a great healer. About the plant itself, just like the Roman chamomile, this one reseeds readily. And let me take a flower off it. It's so sad to do this. It grows not necessarily by runners, but it creeps and it spreads around readily every year. Hello, thanks. And you see I'm in the sun. I'm gonna check in to see if there's questions. Here is Yarrow. So many leaves, millefolium for the many thousands of leaves, but you can see these huge umbels, and each one of those is a little flower. And I don't really collect this for medicine making. I prefer to leave a lot of the plants out for the insects, because that's kind of why, that's the relationship. And if you find yourself walking around and you're hiking or something and you get a bee sting or a bite, or you have a mouth sore, what you can do is just like with plantain is really nice to do, you make a poultice. And one thing about Yarrow, it's very bitter. Most asters are. They have lactones in them. and tannins, and that closes up tissues especially. And the lactones are an anti-feedant, so it deters animals from wanting to go to the bitter flavor. And then actually, if you start to bring the tissues up in too much, it can really wreak havoc in certain intestinal issues of like cows and things like that, of grazing animals. So I don't think this is gross, this is real life. If you have a sore in your mouth, you can take yarrow and keep it as a poultice in there. If you have a bug bite or a sore, you can put that little poultice on your wound for a little while, and that's going to help you. You don't need to have the essential oil or make a tea or something like that. Really nice and bitter. And we'll focus on the oil like we've been doing once we go inside to talk oils. But just realize when I'm looking at yarrow, and you think about medicine making, you have to understand that like a lot of the qualities like I was just talking about won't really be in the essential oil necessarily. You might want to work with a tea, a hydrosol, or a tincture. So understanding, solubility is super important. The more I've been studying this stuff, you realize how super important it is. So Yarrow, let me see if there's anything else to say. Hi, thanks for joining me. Happy almost solstice. I'm celebrating and honoring Juneteenth with a wounded warrior and a wounded healer, Yarrow. Let me see. So found all over. I mentioned it is a weed. I talked about the minerals, the many leaves. So the herb itself, I'm just looking at the medicinal properties really quickly. It's a wound healer, and it's known to work with blood. And if you're with me as an aromatherapy enthusiast and essential oil enthusiast, never put essential oils on weeping open wounds if you can, like a compress with the fresh plant. If you have the hydrosol, that's really nice to turn to. And I've worked with the hydrosol for wounds, but it's known because of its tannins and some other chemistry to staunch wounds. It's great for hemorrhoids, mouth sores, internal bleeding. It's known as an emmenagogue to help regulate menses. It works with blood and it works with tissues. And when I was smelling the oil the other day, really connecting with it actually. Sorry, I just took off a little head and I want to take another one to smell it. Sorry, Yarrow. The energy is really impactful for me. You might have a different experience. It's known to work with lower body issues and tissues. When I was smelling the oil, it went directly down to my stomach and my uterus, and it kind of brought me to this stillness, which was really interesting if you think about healing. And this, again, the theme today is healing, and this is a healer. One thing I remember learning, I forget who I heard this from first. But it is, when you think about Achilles' heel and Achilles, the warrior, the wounded, this looks like a shield, right? And you talk about doctrine of signatures and things like that, and you think about the protection. And also when you think about how something grows, there's a lot of energy down here and beauty, and working with fluids and blood and lymph down here. It's also great for urinary things, a great digestive aid. Again, I'd say as the tea or as a tincture, as a hydrosol. And that energy channel through that long, beautiful stem, like check out these back here. These are volunteers too. Look how tall they are. And then this is penstemon with some lobelia. But just so tall and mighty, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Angelica. And Yarrow is a woman's friend, definitely. A human's friend, but definitely a woman's friend. Hi, I'm going to go inside now. Here's one last look at yarrows. Beautiful yarrow. So it's nice to think about the themes that plants have. It's spending time thinking about that is, I think, really interesting, because a lot of the asters are healers, and we talked chamomile, two of the chamomiles in this, and there's helichrysum, and they're all really beautiful healers, but they all have their own different personalities. So let's see. I am here at the oil, so this is kind of the theme about Plant Talk Happy Hour, where we're with the plants and talk about it a little bit. It's so fun that it was in my driveway in 3 places this year. I found lavender growing in the driveway. So, when you let things go to seed, magical things can happen. So when I was spending time with this oil yesterday, especially because I'm going to write about it and put it up on my blog for Plant Talk, but it's I mentioned the downward energy and moving fluids and like smelling the oil. I was getting a direct channel down here, activity down, and then it evened me out and made me feel really still and chill. And this is for working with things when things are down and bloated and depressed and heavy and like anger, and there's just things weighing you down. That's physical, mental, emotional. And you can turn to that oil to help you. Or the plant. You know, have the tea. I put some Yarrow hydrosol in here, knowing that I was going to be eating that bitter. So I just have that. So this would be a nice digestive aid for overall, like either too lax or too open digestive movements, if you will, and just helping regulate things. It is a regulator. So I'm just looking. So a few notes about the oils. I just have things, I was thinking about what's the personality of this. So it's about wounds. We've already discussed that. And it's a very subtle oil, and some of you might know our friend Yarrow is a blue oil. It has the sesquiterpenes in it, and those are the agilenes. There's a chemical reaction that happens in this distillation process, and you get the beautiful blue. And that's also why chamomile happens to be blue. Inula is another one that might be a beautiful green. So it's an artifact of distillation, which we just fall in love with. So deep emotional wounds. So what are some oils you can work with to think about wounding? So hands down, if you're in like some kind of wound crisis, there's always lavender. Lavender goes with so many things, but definitely pair with helichrysum, German chamomile. Those are the asters. And let's see, when you're thinking with working with blood, and you want to work with blood and have astringent qualities come through, some of the ones that really pop to mind are, and I just kind of put helichrysum and German chamomile to the side. I'm like, I've been with you for too long, guys. I need a break. Cistus is a gorgeous oil that's known, a great astringent, really working with blood, working with bruising, just like helichrysum is. But when you really want to work with regenerative wound repair, Yarrow and Cistus. It's divine. And cypress. I have this gorgeous, cypress. Known also as, cypress is this old soul that can help think about old ancient wounds. You want to go through bloodline wounds, emotional scarring, healing the healer. This could be really beautiful, not just physically, but emotionally too. So cypress, cistus, and yarrow could be divine together. If you want also for wound healing, I was really drawn to frankincense is a classic. And then when I was looking at the oils, copaiba balsam, really subtle oleo resin could be really beautiful for wound repair. So like, again, wound is the theme here. When I was thinking about women's friends, I was, again, just like 20 minutes ago with my oils. And I really wanted Angelica to be with Yarrow. I thought that it was, because Angelica is a woman's friend for certain, and it has that thin to thick stalk, that tall umbel, and then low to the ground. Kind of a similar feeling of Yarrow. And they complement each other nice. So this could be nice for aches and pains, women's help support, helichrysum, lavender. You can throw some of the classics in there. I also wanted to share something too. This is a cooling herb. Many oils are hot. Copaiba happens to be cooling. I have rose here too, but this is known in its actions on the body to be quite cooling. And I've seen that when you sit with the oil, you can just feel a bit literally like tempered and cooled down, and I'm getting really hot because it's pretty toasty in this room. Thinking about fortifying the soul and the, these all are, you can work with skincare too, but Cedrus atlantica, cedarwood, for strength and stability. With yarrow and cypress. It's like old supportive wisdom. And again, when you blend with oils, you can think of topical application just by inhalation on scent strips and inhaler straight from the bottle. If you like to diffuse, that could be really interesting. And Yarrow. I also, to talk, when you think about, there's so many oils to pick, but thinking about the wounded self and anger and maybe self-hatred and just needing some love, Yarrow as a protector and a supporter with Rose, because we can, and Rose invites love and gives love. And Palmarosa. When I've spent a time with Palmarosa, I find it to be a great self-acceptor to help you kind of accept you for who you are. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell this. Hi Jen. So I have Palmarosa, Rose, and Yarrow. So like, yeah, healing yourself and healing just physical wounds, heart wounds, mental wounds, helping you process. You know, the oils are tools. They don't get rid of things for us, but they can help nudge us. And in the words of Jim McDonald, who I studied with, the plants go and tell your body to do stuff. And I love the way he said that. He's a great teacher, because we don't have answers for things, and we just kind of keep doing what we're taught and listen to the plants and be with them. Let me see if you have any questions. I'm here. And hi, Jen. I'm really glad you're here. Let me see. Yeah, fortifying, healing the healer. And then if you spend time with the oil and the odor profile, again, I'm going to write about this. I really enjoyed doing that part. It's really subtle. And it's a little green. And there's like a little dirt in there and a little sweetness, but it's super subtle. It's a very complex plant in and of itself. It has a lot of actions on the body as the plant itself. Again, as a tea would be lovely. One thing as a tea, it's known to help with, if you have like a fever or cold, it will help to break the fever. And even energetically smelling the oil, you can feel the activity come in and then it pulses outward, which is really interesting. So that's really it for plant talk, but to be me, I found a poem. It's a bit old, but there aren't many great Yarrow poems out there that I could find. So if you want to hang out with me for a couple minutes, I found this by Annie Adams Fields from probably 200 years ago. She was a Bostonian, and she wrote this poem. And I found the fourth stanza to be quite fitting for the time we are living in right now. And especially, well, always. So this is called Herb Yarrow by Annie Adams Fields. So, everywhere the yarrow grows, here and there the thistle blows, here and there the barberries, by the brook the plumy fern. We know where the lily is, where the dear wild roses burn, but the yarrow everywhere wanders on the common air. No one need to search for thee. Even now thy leaf I see, peeping o'er my opened book, throwing so fair a shadow down, so perfect, that I can but look and, looking, find new wonder, crown bliss of beauty which before taught my spirit to adore. In thy bitter odors blent, health we find, not discontent. In thy name a tender grief, for that love once drowned in yarrow, stream that never gave relief to the faithful winsome marrow. Bitter yarrow, flowing yarrow, still lament thy winsome marrow. Emblem of our equal land, where men and women helpful stand, and love and labor high and low, type of the low, thou lovely plant, teach the proud-hearted how to know the sacred worth of nature's grant, the strength of bitterness, and the sweet humility of beauty's feet. So that fourth stanza I thought was quite powerful, and if you want to, on the parting note, if you want to think about how the plant grows, and it's so noble, it just goes into crevices and cracks and sets those beautiful feathers down, and then up comes the stalk, and then up comes that shield. And it is a healer, and it's a beautiful plant to get to know. And so that's it for Plant Talk, unless someone has any questions. Thanks for joining and waving. So happy solstice. I'm looking just in case there's questions. Happy solstice, Juneteenth. I'm going to say I really had no idea, and I saw my friend Jen's on, and like the things we don't learn in school and history depends on who's writing it and sharing it. So the more we share, the better off we are, right? So happy solstice, love yourself, love the plants, turn to your plant allies, and I hope you join me again for Plant Talk Happy Hour. So thank you. It's nice to see you guys. So love you. I'll see you again soon, I hope. Okay? Bye. Thank you. Bop, bop.